that, well, if we provide more reproductive health services to more women, they'll better be able to control their population. But what does that really mean? I mean, what does that get into in the nitty gritty of things? We already have a lot of questions about reproductive rights in this country, right? So, are we going to train women across the world in how to use contraception? Are we going to tell them that they should be, curtailing their pregnancies, maybe not having some kids, maybe getting pregnant and not taking that pregnancy to term? Is this the best way to deal with population growth, or are there other ways we should be thinking about it? I want to hear your thoughts. 866 Oprah XM, 866 677 2496. Now, obviously, one of the things that this connects to is the issue of the census. And the census is coming up in 2010. And we all got to tell, you know, who we are, where we are, and give our society an understanding of how many people are there and what kind of demographics we represent. Now, there's some conflict because some people feel that, well, the census, I mean, like, I'm telling the government where I am and who I am, and I don't want them counting people like me. There could be problems inherent in giving up my information. I don't really buy it. First of all, the census doesn't say, tell them that, yo, this is Derrick Ashong. I live at 222 South 33rd Boulevard in apartment 2347. You guys, and if seriously, if you go to that address and you try to find me, you're not going to find me because I don't live there. I'm making it up. So I know, seriously, man, the fans are bananas. They always be calling me, trying to holler at a bruh. I'm just trying to go to Stop and Shop, get my daily bread. And they'll be like, is that Derrick Ashong? Doesn't he have an experience? I'm totally making that up. Go to Stop and Shop anytime. Nobody's going to bother me. I'm on the radio. You won't recognize my face. Anyway, basically, the census, I don't think is going to cause people individual problems in that they are going to somehow be divulging information about themselves to the government in a way that could be misused. First of all, information about yourself is ubiquitous. But what the census is trying to do is not just go up and Google you and find out whatever we can through, our credit scores and Experian and them. We're not going to call freecreditscore.com to find out if you paid your bills or not. What the census does is it figures out where are people, what are the demographic representations of these people, so that we can better structure our society, so that we can better structure and harness resources towards helping people in the society. I think that all of us should be filling out our census forms. I mean, it's only, to me, it's a no-brainer because it's not a thing that is going to harm you, but it is something that can potentially help us. The other thing that is critical to remember is, we need to be keeping tabs on the evolution of our society so that we can basically have a more just society, right? We can have a society where we actually know that, hey, if there are people here who are lacking these kinds of resources, which the government is supposed to provide, we're not saying the government is going to come and take over your neighborhood. We're just saying that we want to have communities where resources are adequately apportioned so we all have the best chance at living and being and having an opportunity to live our fullest and our best lives. When it comes to this issue of population and it comes to the census, I don't know if everyone sees the connection, but basically, if we're talking about the world growing, 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 and we're getting to the point where the population may become unmanageable, it becomes even more important to manage our resources more effectively. The thing that I think should be really part of the discussion is how do we get more effective in our usage of energy? How do we get more effective in our generation of energy? How do we become more effective in the way in which we educate our people so that they can make better choices for their lives, so that we're not dictating to folks, you can have a baby, you can't have a baby, which I don't think is really on the table. But when things get extreme, people come to extreme ideas. I think that what's much more valuable is to be thinking creatively and more effectively about how we actually live our lives. And if you give more people access to greater education, they'll make better choices for themselves. That's my word on that. Now, there was something that came up in the news this week that I thought was really sad, and it was a big deal. The news media reported that a trainer at SeaWorld was killed by a massive 12, I think it was like 12,000 pound killer whale by the name of Tilikum. And there has been this whole debate on whether or not we should kill this whale, whether it was the whale's fault, whether it was the trainer's fault, if SeaWorld is doing something bad to animals, what on the world is going on? And I've been listening to the news, and there have been a couple of interesting things that have been said. So one of the points that was raised is the question of why do we hold these animals captive? And I think we've got a clip here from Jack Hanna talking about this issue.
It is a killer whale. And the only thing I compare it to is when the astronauts went to the space station, that tragic thing happened coming back. Why did we do that? We did that to learn more about space, how it will help us. Why do we have Tillian? Why do we have whales, as well as elephants, other animals in our zoological parks and things like this? We have it to educate folks. It's the last chance we have to save these animals.
Okay, so basically he's saying that we have these animals in these institutions to help educate people about it. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's right? Do you buy that argument? Do you believe that we should be keeping wild animals in captivity, whether in the zoo, the aquarium, or at SeaWorld? I want to hear your thoughts. You can holler at us, 866-677-2496. That's 866-OPRA-XM, 677-2496. You can also catch us on Facebook.com/Derrick Ashong Experience, Ustream.tv/Derrick Ashong Experience. Do you believe that we should be keeping wild animals in captivity? What are your thoughts? Holla at me. Personally, I think the story is a little bit complicated, right? Because we know that this animal has hurt a person. And apparently, there have been some challenges in the past. The AP just gave a report on the history of killer whales at SeaWorld. Can we get clip number 17, please?
It's a very surprising thing that this would have happened because killer whales have been in captivity since the 1960s when the first one called Namu was brought down from British Columbia and stuck in the Seattle Aquarium. And it was then learned for the first time that these creatures, which were thought to be killers, could be domesticated. And that led to all this Shamu-Namu business where killer whales became the stars of aquarium shows, much more than bottlenose dolphins or any dolphins. Aside from everything else, they're a whole lot larger.
So basically, this has been going on for a long time. Killer whales have been kept in captivity for a strong minute. What do you think? Should animals be kept in captivity for our education? It's 866-677-2496. We're talking about Shamu and crew. I think it's hard if you say that animals can't be kept. If you say that animals can't be kept in captivity, what are people going to do? How do we learn? How do we grow? How do we find a way to understand who these animals are and what their place is in the world? If I had the capacity to go out on an ocean-borne expedition, maybe I could get some deeper insight into what these animals do and what they're all about. But Jack Hanna is telling us that, well, you need to let people have a deeper and closer relationship with them in order to care enough to want to conserve the lives of these animals. I don't know. What do you think? Dylan, you're on the air. Should we be keeping wild animals in closed spaces?
I disagree with it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it, though. I do think we need to learn. But I think you have so many animals that you can get that are ill or hurt or injured. And why can't we use those animals, those mammals, those in the entertainment and in the zoos? And one thing I really that crosses my mind a lot is that the population of people has grown so immense, and we keep forcing these animals out of their natural environment.
Of their habitats.
I think we have a responsibility to control our civilization, and I think
Yes.
that's a big part of it. Because I don't want them to disappear. Every time I hear polar bears are going to be gone or elephants are going to be gone,
Yeah.
it really saddens me. And the only place that we get to see them is in a zoo. And I don't enjoy. When I was a little girl, I didn't enjoy going to zoos. I did not enjoy seeing them in captivity. And I do think it's great. They do spend a lot of money making the environment for these animals as close as possible. But when I think about that orca, and I saw where
it was
so
kept.
small compared to the ocean.
Well, so Dylan, but I have a question, a couple of thoughts. So for one, because you're saying that, maybe we should have animals that are hurt or injured and then bring them in. But the problem is, let's be real. If the animal is hurt and injured, I mean, who's going to come and see them? Would you go to a park to see a killer whale that was bandaged up and just sort of floating there and not jumping and swimming and playing with the people?
I wasn't thinking of him in that bad a shape.
Okay, you said just with
But
some
in
little
Mexico,
minor cuts and bruises, not like with real broken fins and things.
But I went to a reserve in New Mexico, and the animals there were all rescued, and they were in pretty good shape.
Okay.
And they were beautiful, but they probably couldn't be put into a show.
Yeah.
And I don't enjoy SeaWorld. I really don't. And I just think that when you take something that comes out of the ocean and all that space that they have, we can't replicate that.
It's tough because, I feel you in the sense that the animal should be wild and free. They should be there in their natural habitat doing what they do. At the same time, when I was a kid...
It's a good thing the animals don't think like us and start putting us on display.
Yeah, let's hope that they never do, right? It's a tough thing, though, because when I was a kid, I loved the zoo. Honestly, I got a chance to go to the zoo in New York. I got a chance to go to the zoo in Saudi Arabia. I've traveled around the globe. I got to see animals in Thailand and in the United Kingdom, and you will catch different animals in the different places that you go to. And my parents would take us to these places, and this is how I got to have an idea of the environment is a wonderful thing, and the animals that live with us in society. Well, not in society. It's not like they, you meet the killer whale at Starbucks, taking up all the space in the line. No, I don't mean living in society like that. But I do mean as like an ecosystem, as this global environments. These are critical parts of it. And I learned about their importance and their value in part from going to the zoo and things like that. At the same time, Julie, you bring up a great point. It would be terrible if the animals could do to us what we do to them. I'm trying to think about what if somebody took me and was like, oh my God, we're going to put you in a place where you will be locked away and we will decide when you eat, when you sleep. We will decide who gets to see you and who doesn't and when, and you cannot come and go as you please. I mean, it would kill me, right? Although we do manage to put a whole lot of us in prison, which is effectively the same thing. The exception being prisoners get to work for free. And when they come out, they can't vote. So there ain't no hope that a politician is ever going to change that prison system. Right? And I think that it's funny. And I know this is not the segue y'all expected, but we having a dialogue. So let's talk. Right? Everyone is up in arms because we're imprisoning these animals. But we imprison people on a daily basis. And yes, I know, I get it. Y'all feel that probably those people deserve to be put in jail. They deserve to be there, so therefore we should lock them up. Yeah, man, if you gonna beat my mommy on the street, if I don't get to you first, they better put you in jail. Because if I see you, we gonna have an extra problem. There might be two of us in prison. However, we also put people in jail for minor offenses. So-and-so smoked some weed, and if they got caught, or California, 3 strikes, right? You did it 3 times, we're going to throw you in prison. Now, I have met a whole bunch of very well-educated, very established and influential and wealthy people who smoke marijuana. They don't go to prison. But if you find some random kid in the hood that's walking around, and the police in New York, there was an article actually that came out in the New York Times that was stating that in the 90s and early 2000s, New York police would go and find kids on the street, and they would ask, do you have any weed on you or whatever, and the kids will say no, blah, blah. They'd ask them to empty their pockets. Now, these kids are not supposed to have to do that, and they don't know that it's against the law for them to force you to empty your pockets. They empty their pockets anyway. If they find anything, the kid is in trouble. So we've actually got a whole bunch of nonviolent offenders locked up. Now, I feel like you could talk to them and be like, hey, maybe this is not good for you because of X, Y, Z, P, and Q. But we lock people up on a daily basis with no hope of redemption. Like, we don't ever want to see you back in society. By the time we get out and you tell me you're an ex-felon, I don't want you coming to work at my job. I don't want you living next to my daughter, right? Are we going to put you on the phones at the office? What do we do with these folks? Because we can argue all day that we shouldn't lock up the killer whales, but we lock up our own people on a regular basis. And I think that's highly problematic, and it's something at least worth discussing. The fact of the matter is, as far as the killer whale is concerned, I feel really bad for that trainer, and I feel really sad. I don't think that they should kill the whale. The whale was not out there. It didn't eat the person. The whale was not out there just like, yo, this lady is in my space. I'm taking her out. The whale did what whales do. It saw something move. It doesn't have hands. It grabbed it with its teeth. And if any of you have a kid, right, you will know that, like, you pick up a little cute little baby and they start swinging their legs and guys, y'all know what I'm talking about for real. They start swinging their legs with them hard shoes. Oh my God, those hard shoes could make it so that you can't have kids someday. What? But the baby doesn't know that it could hurt you. Well, imagine a 12,000-pound baby that doesn't speak your language, that maybe cares about you but can't express themselves in the same way that you do. Could that 12,000-pound baby potentially hurt you if the 12-pound one at your crib could too? This is the stuff I think we should think about, right? And they call it, and it's funny because two people are telling me this, Crescent is saying this, and also my man Scott, that the animal is called a killer whale. Hello, right? But it's not called a killer whale because they kill people, though. It's called a killer whale because it's a predator. It goes out there and it hunts seals and it jumps up and down and it grabs them with its sharp teeth and it eats meats. It's not a vegetarian. No tofu in Tilikum's diet. But Tofu did not eat the trainer. Tofu apparently pulled her into the water, and sadly, with those 12,000 pounds of force, she was injured and she drowned. I think it's a big issue. I think that SeaWorld needs to review their safety policies. I'm torn about whether we should have these animals in captivity at all, because I think they should be able to roam free, but you can't take this killer whale that has been raised in captivity and put him out into the open ocean. You might as well just kill him, because what's he going to do, right? It's like half of you living in Beverly Hills, man. Let's just take you out, put you all in a train, in a big plane, and fly you out to Flatbush, drop you in the heart of Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? What are you going to eat? I mean, it's not right. It's not right. You might not survive. It's a tough issue. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get to the closing segment of the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the Olympics. I made a bet with a listener, and I lost. Oy vey. It's a Derrick Ashong experience. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Oprah Radio.
He's cute and smart and wants to talk to you. Call Derrick Ashong now, 1-866-OPRAH-XM. And now here's Derrick Ashong.
And now here's Derrick Ashong being cute and smart on the radio. I love that rejoin. Oh my God, that was great. Somebody said on our YouTube once, like, you sound arrogant when you say you're cute and smart. Let me tell you something. I am cute and smart. What am I supposed to do? Well, if I was dumb and ugly, I wouldn't even be able to say that. If I was dumb and ugly, I'll be telling you something else. Like maybe like I'm dumb and ugly, but I've got great abs. You know what I'm saying? Or like I'm mad funny or whatever. But that's not the case. I'm cute and smart. My abs used to be hotter than they are right now. I've been on that donut diet, so it's a different story. Anyway, yo, listen, I was checking out, as usual, I'm always on Twitter, and like I hear my friends bugging out incessantly about anything in the media. I mean, it's always, and it's funny because Twitter is one of the illest news sources out there, because I hear stories from my peoples sometimes before they really hit the news. And one of the things that folks were blowing up about earlier this week was the issue of a conversation that happened on another radio show where Tavis Smiley was making some comments about the President Obama. And you know, this is our last show of Black History Month. And for those of you who've been listening regularly, you know that I have not been talking about black stuff. And I haven't been talking about it because I think that we have gotten to a point where we should be able to move beyond Black History Month. Black history should be a part of everyone's history all year round. And maybe everyone doesn't quite get it, or we haven't figured out how to do it, but that's what we should be moving towards. And so when I feel like it, I talk about things that I think are relevant to Black history, but most times I think about things that are relevant to all of our history as a collective society. It is well and good and fine to express our individual identities, but I don't like being relegated to the shortest month of the year. You know, if I could at least get August, maybe I'll stop beefing. But it's the 27th. That means tomorrow it's over. So, in acknowledgement of Black History Month, I'm going to talk about some black people real quick. Tavis Smiley was on the air, on the radio, talking about President Obama and how President Obama is not doing enough for black folks and he doesn't have a viable black agenda, right? Now, you got other people in the country that are running around with posters of Obama with a bone through his nose as we speak, talking about he's over here for Obamacare and all he's there is to serve the black folks and the welfare babies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So no matter which way he goes, the man is already done, right? People don't want to hear it. Tavis is saying that Obama doesn't have a black agenda and that certain black leaders have given him a pass on not addressing the issues of black people. Now, one of those black leaders decides to call up on the phone the good Reverend Al Sharpton. And Al Sharpton calls up Tavis Smiley and he basically says, yo, don't start none, won't be none, son. And you have live on-air beef. It was incredible. Yo, you guys, I'm going to just put it out there right now, yo. And this works in hip-hop like crazy. Y'all should call and let's just start a beef anytime. Just like, let's fight about something. I don't know what. Maybe I'm more gangster than you, or maybe you guys are more gully than me. Just let's think about something. Let's argue. It's great for ratings. I'm going to put it out there. We'll get to it another day. So Al Sharpton calls with the on-air beef, and he's like, yo, the president is not the president of the black people. He's the president for all the people. Tavis, meanwhile, is like, yo, he should be addressing the needs of black folks, and we should be holding his feet to the fire the same way we hold other leaders' presidents' feet to the fire. Yo, honestly, Tavis, I am not feeling you at all on this matter. And I've argued with some of my friends about this, but I am not feeling it. And because I am happening to host this experience, I'm going to tell you what I think right now. I don't see that George W. Bush had a black agenda. I don't recall what that black agenda was. I actually missed Bill Clinton's black agenda. What was Bill Clinton doing specifically and focusedly for the black community? I don't remember George Herbert Walker Bush having a black agenda. I don't remember Reagan having one, nor Jimmy Carter. Now, I was young in those days. Maybe I haven't been reading my history. But from what I've seen, most American presidents, even though they do cater to certain constituencies, strive to be representatives of all the people, right? It's like Obama said the other day. Some of y'all go home to your specific districts, but I hear from people in all of your districts, right? He's not a legislator. He's not representing this segment of the society. He's representing the entire country. So how are you going to put this man on blast and say, well, he's got to have a black agenda? I actually think that someone else might have their own agenda. And what I've seen, especially during the campaign, during the primaries, there were a lot of black leaders that didn't want to get behind President Obama. They were Hillary Clinton supporters, which is fine. My parents loved the Clintons. They were voting for Hillary while I was pro-Obama, right? Now, it's okay to have a difference of opinion, but it's interesting when you find these people that will repeatedly tout the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King. The dream, he had a dream, he had a dream, he had a dream. That one day we will live in a world where we will be judged by the content of our character as opposed to the color of our skin. And now you have a brother rising to the highest office in the land on the backs of all people who believe that, forget the color thing. We think this guy's got some good ideas and we want to see it make them happen. Now, President Obama, we want to see more action from you. I'm going to just say that straight out. Right? There's a lot of those ideas that have not yet been manifest. We know it's a hard sell, but you need to make it happen. That's just my word for now. We'll get to that another day. But fundamentally, he was voted in by all of us. White folks, black folks, brown folks, every purple, pink, polka dot people. We were all like, yo, majority of us want this man. And so he's in office. What Tavis Smiley is effectively saying is that in order for him to be a viable leader, he needs to cater to the interests of the black community. And we hold him to that standard just like we hold every other president. But what president have you held to that standard, right? First of all, there are a lot of problems in the black community that black people need to be addressing ourselves. And that's the same with any community. And it doesn't mean that we do not ask government to be a tool and an asset in addressing them. But if we're talking about a nation with record unemployment, and are disproportionately affecting people of color and minorities, let's address the employment issue. And if we address that, it will affect all of us for better. When unemployment goes up, blacks and Latinos have more unemployment. When unemployment goes down, blacks and Latinos have more jobs, just like everyone else. The fact that there's a discrepancy in the degree to which they have jobs does not mean that addressing the jobs issue does not help those communities. That's one thing. But additionally, I don't like this idea that just because you came out of a certain community, when you come into office, supposedly as a representative of all of us, you got to somehow bring all of the baggage and all of the weight of the interests of any single party to bear upon this new office, right? That sounds like a recipe for destruction because you're expected now to serve the interests of all the people. So, what is happening is some of these so-called black leaders believe that President Obama is not being black enough. And I remember back in the primary, these were the same people that weren't willing to throw their support behind him, right? So now you're telling me that even though you didn't endorse this cat, even though you didn't raise the roof for this man, even though you didn't get him elected, he should cater to you on account of the color of your skin. Granted, the black community as a whole did support him, but some of these voices did not. And most of the folks that I talk to on a daily basis are not arguing that Obama needs to do more for blacks or Latino or whatever. They're saying that Obama needs to represent the nation and do it to the fullest. And I fully agree. I'm going to take it another step further. Again, back to that time of the primary. I remember when President Obama did not go on the show of Mr. Tavis Smiley. It was an annual event that they have, State of the Black Union. And Obama sent Michelle, the First Lady, now First Lady. And Tavis was mad. And a number of other leaders, Professor West, Cornel West, he was also upset. He was a former professor of mine. I have a lot of respect for him. But they were all upset. And I'm like, guys, you're talking about this man who is fulfilling this dream that you purportedly believe in so strongly. And now here comes the guy to do a job for all the people, not to be a black leader, but to be a leader, an American leader. and you can't support him. And now, 2 years after the fact, we are still grinding that same axe that Obama does not support blacks. I suspect that what is really the issue is folks need to make sure that people are paying attention to them, and that the concern is not so much that Obama is not doing enough for the people, but rather the concern is that Obama may be making obsolete the role of the interpreter who translates blackness for the rest of the community. You can't come into office and bring the old school baggage. That's not how things work. It's like these athletes get into the NFL or the NBA or whatever, and they bring all their old boys. And they say, okay, well, this is my crew, and this is how we do, and I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real for where I came from. No, you're in a new position, and you need to do what is right for that new position and what it requires. And we want to have the very best of you. We want to see you strive and shine and excel. We want to see you throw that touchdown pass. We want to see you hit that triple double. We want to see you succeed. We don't want to see you tied to an old definition of connection to community that is not based on actual service to the community, but that is rather based upon people's perception of their ideas of entitlement. That because you came from us, you now owe us. Obama does not owe anything to the black community that he does not owe to the American people at large. We elected him to be the president of all of us. And that's what he's trying to do. And that's where we're going to hold his feet to the fire. You're listening to the Derrick Ashong Experience. We're going to take one more quick break. And when we come back, we are going to wrap it up. We'll see you in a hot sec.
You're listening to Oprah Radio.
This is the Derrick Ashong Experience. The conversation starts here and continues 24/7 on Facebook and Twitter. Search Oprah Radio to get in on the action. And now here's Derrick Ashong.
Hey, this is DNA. So we're coming up upon the closing part of the show, and there's a few things that I want to cover real quick. First of all, those who have been listening from the beginning, you realize that we had some technical issues in the very start. So we were listening to last week's show when we were supposed to be having this week's show. There were some things that I wanted to discuss that then got cramped, and one of them is the news that hit us this morning, that there's been a magnitude 8.8 earthquake in Chile, and unfortunately, we're still getting the news trying to figure out what's happening, but this is really striking that we had a massive earthquake in Haiti. Now we have an even bigger one in Chile, only weeks later. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Chile, and we're hoping that they will be okay. And I encourage you folks, I know that we've all been engaged in helping the people of Haiti, but I think that what happened there really brought out the best in our humanity, and I hope that we can do the best we can for the people of Chile as well. It's got to come to a point where we start thinking more about how do we have a unified response to these global crises. But in the meantime, let's try as individuals to do the best that we can. One of the things that has been in the news that has been a great source of joy for many people has been the Olympic Games. And it's been fun to watch. Everyone's been having a ball. People have been talking about it and watching these amazing, incredible things. I've been watching a lot of the sports. The toughest one for me to watch personally is figure skating. And it's tough for me to watch figure skating because it's different. Like, if you in the bobsled, like, you're probably not going to fall out. If you do, it's like crazy, but it's hopefully not going to happen. Skiing, people are going to fall all the time. It's just a part of the course. You're probably going to be all right. Then you have, the racing, like ice skating, and you're going so fast, speed skate, and sometimes you slide, and I love it when they go down there and they got their fingers like, psst, Apollo, Anton, oh no, bringing it happen, no, yo. So basically, I love watching that, but sometimes they slide and they crash and it's boom, boom, bap, and it's exciting and it's fun. But when a figure skater goes up and does one of these super twirly whirls and then comes crashing, tumble to the ground, it hurts me. It's like embarrassing. It's painful. And the thing is, with the other ones, you never know what's going to happen. They could skate around the whole rink at 20 times and be all right. They could come down the whole mountain and everything's going to be fine. But with the ice skating, every time they jump up in the air, you know they got to come back down, and that's where it's dangerous. So you're scared. So my stomach just jumps up and down every time they leap into the air. I'm like, oh no, please. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I usually don't watch it because it's not good for my digestion. However, I did watch this week, and I saw this young lady, Kim Yuna, basically score like the highest score in women's ice skating ever. And this is a 19-year-old girl from South Korea, and what she did was incredible. I mean, the second place winner was from Japan. And her performance, she had like the first, quadruple banana split jump. You know what I'm saying? And it was like nobody's ever done it. No woman has ever done it before. It was incredible. But the performance by Kim Yuna was so phenomenal that basically no one could touch her. So she took the gold. And congratulations to her. Now, I got to say that I did something that I don't normally do. See, I'm not a gambling man. I'm not a kind of guy that goes down to Facebook. It goes on to Vegas. Sorry, I go to Facebook all the time. Not Vegas or Atlantic City. I don't like to waste my money. But I did make a wager online. And the wager was that the American women's hockey team was going to win and beat Canada. And I bet a Canadian. That if I won, she would have to pay for my health care because Canadians think that they got it so good up there in their socialist society. Now, obviously, she must have known something I didn't know because Canada won. And so, in accordance with the bets, I have got to give a shout out to Madison99 from Twitter. That's right, y'all. Madison99 up in Canada, sipping on that maple scissor, doing your thing. Your team won. Fine. You guys are great. Going for gold. Tomorrow, the American men are back on the ice. They have a chance to redeem ourselves and to make me win a bet. But I'm not going to bet this time because I don't want to look like a sucker. Anyway. Anyway, Madison 1999 on Twitter. Pardon me. It's in Madison 1999 on Twitter. Y'all can follow her. She's got all kinds of good Canadian thoughts. It's Madison 99 on Ustream. Yo, Madison 1999, sending you mad love. Mwah. You're one of my favorite listeners. It's been all good. Now it's time for us to break out. We have to have a moment for, as always, I like to finish with a little bit of artistry in the mix. And there's one particular song that I wanted to give you today. And it's very simple. And it talks about this idea of paying attention to what's going on in our society. And I think that's critical, particularly when we're talking about healthcare and things like that. I'm not going to go through the whole thing for you, but usually I give you a poem. This one is more of like a rhyme, right? It's actually a full-scale rap tune. And I want to just give you it slowly so that you hear the basic words. And it's called Don't Sleep. And by don't sleep, I mean be wide awake. Be aware of what's going on in the world. Don't take things for granted. Don't sleep on what's happening in society. And this particular song says, don't sleep on the opposition. We on a mission like Moses, but this time the promised land was just stolen beneath the very noses of those who thought the battle had been won before they saw the setting sun. And in the heart of the darkness, there rose an artist lit within his spirit was a shining light, perfectly calibrated to ignite the might of a mission long awaited to take back the mic and show the many how to use it. For we, the children of the sun, won't give our power to a world that would abuse it. We free because we choose it. And in our heart of hearts, we can't stop because the river runs through it. So raise your hands if you're ready to flex and put the weight of the world in its true context. If you knew who carry you, you'd command respect. And until the people do, you know that we won't rest. So don't sleep. Stand for your soul to keep. Rock a rhyme to the rhythm of an endless sea. Yo, from the Nile to the Mississippi. These waters run deep in the heart of the street, so my peeps don't sleep. Move when you feel the beat. Raise your hands to the vision of the sun you seek and keep it rocking till you feel the heat. These fires burn deep in the heart of the street, so my peeps don't sleep. That's my word, y'all. We talking about being aware of what's going on in our world. We're not here to have the wool pulled over our eyes, and we're not here to sit around and watch the people tell us lies and think that they can get by with anything less than giving us what we deserve, which is the truth and a fair shot at living in a society that respects us equally. We kicked it off today talking about healthcare, and I am telling you all, don't sleep on how this particular issue affects all of you. You may think that this is something for the 30 million uninsured. Trust me, your premiums have been going up. They will continue to go up. Don't let the rhetoric fool you. Don't let it confuse you. This is something that we all need to stay invested in. And we need to make sure that our leadership does what we need from them. This is the Derrick Ashong Experience, Sirius 195, XM 156. We are steady, spitting the truth, and we never sleep. That's my word. See you next week. Peace.